I think the danger for Ukraine and for the West indeed is potential for escalation, for a further threat of using nuclear weapons, for further threat of using biological weapons. And it remains to be seen where it will end.
Let's speak to Katia Glod, an expert on Russia at the Centre for European Policy Analysis. Good morning to you, Katia.
Good morning.
Morning to you. A bit of a delay there. How do you think, from your vantage point, the Russians are likely to respond to what is happening in Ukraine? I know they've admitted that they have lost some key cities, but what do you think will be going on in their minds right now?
Well, what we have seen so far within the Russian regime, we have seen indeed this kind of trying to save their face, saying to the public that this is not a retreat, this is the regrouping, this is how all was planned. However, even though this is the overwhelming narrative, this is not the only narrative. And we have seen, even from some state official newspapers, we have seen in the recent days more voices saying that the Ukrainian army is stronger, that we have not done our work really well, and now we have to think strategically. On the other hand, there is a very strong far-right narrative emerging in Russia with Gherkin and other people whose names might not be so well known in the West, calling for very strong action, for escalation, possibly for using nuclear weapons. And this narrative is becoming indeed stronger. And what influence it will have on the decision making in Kremlin, it's very, very unclear.
And what about the way that the media has reported it? We've become familiar with watching on social media the accounts and of kind of television programs and how they've presented what is going on in the war. How are they? How are they phrasing what has happened? How are they presenting it?
Well, they're obviously facing quite, a difficult task to present the retreat as a regrouping. And for example, one of the most sort of notorious propagandists, Mr. Kisilov, the other day started his show with saying that, well, our troops are indeed retreating. It's a very difficult situation. So we have seen even the state propaganda admitting that things are not going right. On the social media, of course, the younger people, particularly, and more liberal Russians who have always been opposing the war, if not actively, then at least passively, they have been saying that this is what was supposed to happen. It's good that it's happening now. Maybe finally our government, the Kremlin, will do something to stop this war. So we have seen quite a divergent narratives currently in Russia, and it remains to be seen what the Kremlin will decide to do. But at the moment, probably they will still try to continue up until they have no resources, and the military people will probably have to tell Putin that we cannot go ahead as before.
So what is the greater danger then here, finally, Katia? Is it the Russian response, or is it not that because there are no resources? Or is it a danger, in inverted commas, to President Putin himself and his position?
Well, I think we can certainly see this leading potentially to some instability within Russian regime, and more voices within the regime emerging who are not happy with how Putin has handled the war. At the same time, Putin still has a lot of control, and he can still resort to sheer brutality. Also within the regime, anyone who will try to oppose a different opinion can be crushed. I think the danger for Ukraine and for the West indeed is potential for escalation, for a further threat of using nuclear weapons, for further threat of using biological weapons. And it remains to be seen where it will end.
Katia, thank you very much. Katia Glod is an expert on Russia at the Centre for European Policy Analysis.